Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? Dark horse in the house. Have you invested in yourself today? Tonight's question. Who just launched a decentralized password manager? Cardano, Aster, Base, or other? If you believe it's other, do like Dark Horse and drop it in the comments. Now, we actually had a ton of news today. If I were to show you my notes, we probably have something like, I want to say like 30 points that we could bring up, right? I mean, inflation isn't doing all that well. Inflation hit 3.1%. We know that. My man, Michael McCaskill, have you invested in yourself today? Medline's IPO shockwaves. So that was a major IPO. You've got a black swan alert that's out there because of what? Say it with me now, class. AI. Yeah. So there's a lot going on. Are you guessing? Are you asking me? Or are you telling me? Right? Because what do? We do our own research. We know our entries and exits, and we absolutely invest deliberately. Are you absolute in your answer? That question mark doesn't give me the vibe that you're absolute in your answer. Yes, I'm busting your chops just because, it's a cool day. It's Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. And at this time, you made it over the hump. I'm just saying. Dark Horse, that's not what we do. We only give one answer and then that's it. Just so you know. Because we want people, the whole point of the question is for people to go do their own research. That's the idea. Go do your own research. I mean, I could be mean and I could ask a few questions about today and people would probably lose their ish. One question I had that I wanted to bring up to the community. How do you feel about your broker also being your bookie? Thank you for letting us know that you invest in yourself, Michael. Because Dark Horse hasn't let us know yet. The nerve. But seriously, how do you feel about your broker also being your bookie? And I ask this question because it seems that predictive markets or prediction markets are running rampant. And for me, that's nothing more than gambling. I'm going to bet that the sky is going to be blue. I'm going to bet that nighttime is going to come. I'm going to bet that there's going to be a sunset. See what I mean? I know those are extreme, but the question really is, do you think that it's a cool idea for your broker to also be your bookie? And I don't think that it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea, right? Your broker, as far as I'm concerned, is supposed to help you trade, buy, sell, hold, stocks, options, bonds, whatever, right? And I also believe that your broker is there to help you learn more about each one of those investment vehicles. Prediction markets don't do any of that. They do none of that. So I do have a problem, right? And so when I look at the whole thing and I look at Robinhood adding prediction markets, Coinbase adding prediction markets, when I look at all these companies adding prediction markets, the further gamification of investment in general, right? Further, giving people that dopamine push that they need. Or that they think they need. I think that's a bad thing for people to know. One thing that I noticed, sorry, I gotta grab something. One thing that I noticed is that wealthy people, they read. And they have their kids read. When they ask you what was the last book you read, what was the last book you read? Or at least listen to. What was the last one? Something. Hey, Paula, how are you? Thank you for letting me know that you invested in yourself. So, Michael McCaskill, oversharing. In the answer, you get one answer. I said who. I didn't say what. I didn't say anything else. I said who. Gotta come down on these people that have been here forever. Seriously? At least I know you did. You invested in yourself. But the point is, that we need to have a better understanding of investing. And I don't think people are getting that understanding. And I don't think they're being led down the road to even contemplate that. Right? And so I really do wonder if people are, so what's a good word? Incentivized to learn. Not being me, Michael. I just want to give everybody a fair chance to go look it up and all that good stuff. Are they being incentivized to learn, or are they being incentivized to? There's a reason why the last one in the GMB 3 is absolutely invest deliberately. It doesn't say guess at the number of times the CEO is going to say a specific word in, their quarterly report or something. That's not what we're looking for. And I do have an issue with that. And some people will sit there and be like, why is he going on about this? Why is he raging on about this? It's because, we don't do a good job of teaching our kids about investing. So do we want them having a dopamine rush and not really doing the research and blowing their money and becoming a slave to the system and blah, 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 blah. That's kind of not what I want. Just bought some PAX G. So technically you invested in yourself. I'm just saying. When I look at that, I would say also not a bad purchase, as far as I'm concerned. And you have various predictive markets, right? You have Gemini about to launch theirs. You have Coinbase about to launch something. You have Kalshi. You have Polymarket. You have a lot of people out there. Decrypt, the magazine, has Myriad, their prediction market. So you start to realize, there you go, Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. That's the one I was telling people about. Yep. And I'm one of the few people out there that's trying to drive that idea that you need to educate yourself. That's what I mean, that you need to invest. Don't just save, you need to invest. But the real deeper meaning of investing is investing in yourself first, so that you have the knowledge to be able to invest and grow your bag. That's the whole point, right? That's really the driving factor that I have, because that's what I want my kids to do. I need to know that my kids are going to understand how value works. And then some people still ask me, what do you mean by value? Well, I want you to look at money. There's a finite amount of money that's actually in the world. Whatever fiat there is a finite amount of money. And then you'll start to realize, wait a minute. Some of these things don't add up to that. They go far beyond the amount of money that there is in the world. Yes, the rest of it is called credit. But both have value. Hence, I try to use the term value whenever possible, because you need to understand how value moves. You really do. Oh, I have no idea. And it's there's not a finite number. I don't think they sit there and go, well, let's do 10 this year. I don't think they do that. I think they kind of look at what's going on. They have their own process as to what's going on. I don't know that I care. I think I care about their criteria. I think I care about the timing of when and that's something I haven't seen yet, is an analysis of all of the exchanges out there and what their timing was for bringing on a new coin. The other night I mentioned that Aster and Binance brought on USD1, right? And I'm kind of like, there's only one reason why you would bring on a coin that would otherwise have a market cap less than $1 billion. And it's only because, well, the new regime is attached to it. Because nobody's using it. Nobody's using it. It can't keep up with PayPal. That $2 billion, deal, it was one deal, $2 billion that was done in USD1. That didn't have to be done in USD1. Didn't have to be done in a stable coin. Do you get where I'm going? So they'd still be under that number. So I'm not worried about the number of coins. I'm worried about the quality of the coins and the reason behind adding the coins. Good question, but that's kind of what my thought is on that. So, a little bit of housekeeping. I am not a financial advisor, except my family. And then I don't necessarily tell them what to do. I kind of share with them what I believe I know and what my thoughts are. And I share that with you guys. And then I also don't jump to answer questions. Right. The deal is that if you're a member, I have to jump to answer a question. I might ask you to wait a minute because I'm finishing a thought and then I jump to answer the question. The other way is, hate to say it like that, but yeah, I get tips and that's how I make money, to answer questions. Like Red Star is known for that. If he's got a real question, he'll hop on and he'll be like, hey, here's some money. Answer this question for me because I don't know. And he does that all the time. I also think that if you do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately, that's a question you can answer yourself. And before I answer any question, there's one rule. I won't acknowledge you unless you actually say, I've invested in myself today. Because that's letting the community know that you care about yourself, you care about your bags, and you're here to learn and you're here to get to the next level. Whatever level you're on, you're here to get to the next level. That's where you're going as well. Just wondering, with the Clarity Act coming, the Clarity Act. Yeah, the Clarity Act. How can I put this? For a little while, I was paying attention to the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, right? I was paying attention to what was going on around the world in terms of what's going on, how's it going on, what are they doing, what are they looking at, all that other good stuff. And then I started to realize that, hey, I should probably be paying attention to other dots of information that we've identified, right? So I found a point today where Kevin Hassett, on his interview with CNBC, said, we can get inflation down to 1%. And I almost spit up my coffee when he said it, because I happened to be sitting there looking at that interview. Because how would you get there? And then he said something and kind of contradicted himself and so I'm kind of like, well, you say you're not going to let the president, you're going to remain independent. You're going to be data driven. You're going to ask for consensus and you're going to see what the story is. And at the end of the day, you got to come to a decision. Great. Got it. Good. That's awesome. Except for one thing. I don't understand how you get inflation down to 1%. How do you do that? In this market climate, how do you do that? I hear a lot of big talk, but I'm not hearing specificity around what can happen, what should happen, what are the ramifications for doing this versus that. I'm not hearing that. What I'm hearing is, well, I'm not in the job, so I can just spew whatever it is I want to spew. And then when I get the job, I've got the job and I can do whatever I want. So I don't know about that. I absolutely don't know about that. And then when I look at the different laws that are coming out and I listen to, the new regime saying, well, I would be open to having a Democrat lead the CFTC or the SEC. Didn't you just give the guy at the SEC the job? It's not like at the CFTC where Carolyn Pham is a temporary person. That's not what that is. Acting, right? There's no acting in that title. Here's the title, and here's this. So I'm just wondering, what does all of that mean, and how does all of that play together? Remember, we lost 1.1 million jobs this year already. 1.1 million jobs, and the inflation numbers that we got yesterday point to not such a good thing. For a while, I've been saying, well, where are we at? I'll get to Japan in a minute. I know a lot of you want to talk about Japan. We'll get there in a second. I want to know, if jobs are being hurt, how are we handling inflation and our second mandate of jobs? Right? JP Morgan has been taking to court over, allegedly fake interviews because of their DEI program, which they changed to DOI. And I'm like, there are just too many things. We've rolled back, for the banking industry, we've rolled back various regulations so that we would not repeat 2008. But because we roll those back, we might just be looking at that. And then the mortgage rates that I was discussing before actually point to, there's a 25% of the mortgages that are out there are going for adjustable rate mortgages, which is exactly where we got led to the last time. If you're into insurance, that's another problem that we have. Healthcare is not a risk anymore. Healthcare is actually an issue. I mean, you could technically say healthcare has always been an issue, but now it really is an issue, because even though we're going to have a vote, most people already had to select their healthcare. So even if we have a vote and we get there, how do we fix it? Because so many have to make decisions right now. And there's your problem. That's when you start to realize, oh wow, we have a bigger problem. Then layer on top of all that stuff and debt and all that good stuff, then you've got to look at Japan and how them raising their rates destroys the carry trade. And that's going to have an effect on the stock market, on banking, and possibly crypto. So when I hear flippant responses or, responses that aren't specific in what they would do, how they would do it, right now, maybe you're not tipping your hand because you don't have the job yet. But right now, I think that's exactly what the United States needs, is somebody that's going to say, well, if I'm in this situation right now, these are probably the steps that I'm going to be, and this is probably the timeline that we probably have in terms of thought process. Not necessarily final decision, because the final decision doesn't rest with you, but you are part of that decision-making process. So you can tell us how you think. So right now, Kevin Hassett has let us know how he thinks. He thinks we can get down to 1% in 2026. We haven't seen 1% since 2016. 2016. What do you mean gonna? What do you mean you're gonna? Bruh. Wait a minute. Let me see something. Because if you haven't answered the question, I'm not talking to you anymore. Oh, you did. Thank you. Yes, I'm busting your chops. Hold it. I missed something that you said about your niece. Oh, my niece worries the crap out of me with trying to teach her about money. Don't teach her about money. Teach her about value. Sounds like the same thing, but it's not. Teach her about value. If you go out and you buy those red bottom shoes, what's the value of those red bottom shoes once you've bought them? It's goose. It's goose egg. Go read almost any report about where luxury items are manufactured. China. So if all these luxury items are made in China, or let me rephrase, if over 60%, I mean, obviously the number is way higher than that, but if over 60% of luxury items are made in China, then how can we continue to turn around and say, we can't trust Chinese quality? What? You just spent $1,500 on a pair of red bottoms or whatever it is that you bought, and it was made in China for $50. How does that work in your head? Right? How does that work in your head? So it might be easier to speak with people about value than it is about money. Right? What's the value of that in 10 days? But if you put your money over here, the value of that in 10 days might be X. Or it could be Y. You know what I mean? It's an easier conversation to have because when you talk about value, you can easily apply that to everyday life. And I think that's a really driving factor. Let's run with the idea that Chinese manufactured goods are just on par. Let's just say they're on par. That's a problem for a lot of companies out there if China has on par products. You want to know who's feeling that right now? Tesla. And yes, I pronounce it Tesla, not Tesla. So if Tesla has a problem in the Chinese market because Chinese EVs are slapping the crap out of them, matter of fact, that's where Tesla manufactures a lot of their cars, is in the Gigafactory in China. Why am I bringing all these things up? I'm bringing all these things up because there are points that I've discussed. If you look at all the points that I brought up tonight, all of those points are connected in one way or another. And so when I look at 2026, woof, I choke on it a little bit. Let me see. Okay. Thanks, Dark Horse. I just read one of your comments. You're going from the standpoint of delayed gratification. I don't know that I would take it I don't know that I would deliver it like that either. I give you guys good news and bad news no matter what, right? When I teach my kids, I go back to how I used to teach college recruiting. What kind of life you want to live? Right? What kind of life you want to live? Well, what is it going to take for you to get to that level of life that you want? It's going to take some education. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some smarts, some investing. It's going to take a few things for you to get there, right? So when I speak with them about value, right? So my daughter, my oldest daughter, all of my kids make me look stupid. I'm gonna start with that. Okay, that's why I'm stuttering and stammering. But my oldest daughter has figured out the kind of lifestyle she wants to live, and she happens to has a fiance now that they have the same kind of outlook. I don't need to buy stuff. I want experiences. I want to have a nice place to live. I want to have my cars, because I got to get to and from work, all that good stuff. And they both have a car. They both have a nice place to live, right? That's cool. But they like to travel. They want to be able to travel. There's your value. How do you achieve that value? I can go buy those red bottoms right now. Or for the money that those red bottoms cost, I can probably put that someplace, and by the time I'm ready to take this trip, have a lot more money, have a lot more value. Because this experience is going to stay with me forever. When those red bottoms wear out, they're done. I'm not going to remember them. I might remember what I did when I was wearing them. But am I going to remember them? Probably not. So my daughter's made up her mind. This is the life I want to live. I'm shooting for that life. Value. Value. Each one of my kids have an idea about what kind of life they want to live. Here, 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 here. Because all my kids are freaking special. That's what they do. So you start to realize, oh, that might be an easier conversation. But I tell you all this news because there are so many things that are going on right now that you kind of have to stop and say to yourself, well, wait a minute. How much is this? I know I want great food and I want to eat very well. I can't be mad at that. I cannot be mad at that. But I started teaching my kids the value. Like my mother didn't tell me about $1. She taught me about the value of $1. That's when I started looking for deals. So my daughter, when she travels, isn't necessarily looking for first class unless it comes for free. Because she's smaller. And so her regular coach seat is not going to bother her as much as it would bother her dad, who's 6'3", over 300 pounds. So that's going to be an issue. That's absolutely going to be an issue. So I might need a business class seat, whereas she can save money getting that coach seat. Her fiance is not all that big either, so he can afford the coach seat. And boom, that enables them to enjoy where they're headed a lot more. Value. That's why I try to use the word value as much as possible. As much as possible. What else do we have going on? The S&P's 3-year rally with AI seems to be diminishing. We have Micron coming up, and that's going to be a big deal. You want to know who's hurting right now? AI could be hurting, right? Blue Owl is in stalled talks with Oracle to go in on their $10 billion data center build out. And Blue Owl's kind of like, I don't know. Why is Oracle building out a big ass data center? Oh, AI. And you start to realize, wow, things are starting to slow down. People are starting to rethink. So I do look at companies. I said it before. I look at companies that say that, oh, we have more efficiency, and so we're able to get rid of some people. We're able to slice some people because efficiency, because AI and automation, da 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 da, blah blah blah, raw. That's cute. And then you get several reports, beginning with MIT, that says, well, 95% of this crap, isn't working. They're admitting that 95% of the things that they're doing with it, it ain't working for us. Wee bit of a problem? Wee bit of a problem? Then you've got the reality that, well, NVIDIA has they have a deal with OpenAI, and because they're at the top of the food chain for now, everybody's gunning for them. Number one, I would say Google. And people will go, why would you say Google? I said it before. Google's got TPU chips, and that's going to be a problem. OpenAI is out there trying to get in bed with everybody. Oracle, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon. Yeah. They want Amazon's chips too, because they need to figure it out. And I bet you most people don't realize NVIDIA came out with their own LLM. And allegedly it's open source, and you can build it, you can train it, you could do a lot of things yourself with it. Why are they doing that? Oh, because they have to hedge their bets. They must absolutely hedge their bets. And some people are saying, why would you say that? Well, if you look at OpenAI, well, they used to be top of the food chain, right? Let's run with the idea that they are top of the food chain. They're here. You have some open source solutions that are like right there. So why would I pay you? That one. And some people are saying, well, do you pay for them because, they have all these services? Let's run with that idea. They just got in bed, or Adobe just got in bed with OpenAI, and OpenAI is going to embed Photoshop into their platform, which will enable you to alter images straight up via ChatGPT. My next question is going to be how long will it be before ChatGPT or OpenAI as a company decides, oh, we can do that now. It's nothing but math. We learned we can do that now. They did it before, right? Recently. Remember that whole plugin market that they had? What happened to all those plugins? What happened to that market? Yeah, nobody's talking about that market anymore. And a lot of the plugins that they had, they're built in the ChatGPT now. Yeah. That's when you start to go, oh no. It's like I said, when I give you this news, you take the news points, you do your own research, all that good stuff. But let's just say you just take the points and you're kind of like, okay, so that one over there doesn't seem related to this one over here, but they actually are related. Micron's going to come out with their numbers. What else does Micron do? Memory. What's memory? Chips. Different kind of chips, but still chips. But memory. How much is memory now? I saw a meme the other day because memory is so expensive. RAM that goes in phones. There are talks that phones right now, you've got 256 gigs on your phone, that it'll drop down because memory is so expensive. Why? Because they need the memory for AI data centers. Yeah. So there was a reel that came out, or a little video that came out, and the guy had on a bracelet made of memory, a little ring made of memory, and memory lying around, talking about, yeah, look at me, got that bling. And I just sat there and I cracked up. Because I'm a geek and I know how much that stuff should cost. Something that cost $100 is now costing close to $3. Oops. Yeah. So AI, when it finally goes, some reality is going to be brought back to the world. Some reality will be brought back to the world. So there's a lot going on that we should be paying attention to, right? There was something else about cars. U.S. car prices are unlikely to see significant decline in 2026. True. It's up. Car prices are already up 1% year over year this year. So next year they're expecting those prices to go up. The car prices right now are just about $50,000. A cheap, cheesy car is $50,000. And people are like, we're supposed to be talking about crypto. Yeah, sure. What affects crypto? The economy. People looking for cars. That's going to be a problem. It's all these tiny little things that you're not necessarily thinking all go together, that you're starting to realize, holy moly, that they do go together. They are together for sure. And you start to realize, well, what is that going to be like next year? So next year, I'm expecting food prices to go up. I'm expecting automobile prices to go up. I'm expecting parts for automobiles that have been in accidents or whatever to go up. Maintenance on several different items. I'm expecting those things to rise. Why? Oh, that's right. Tariffs, which also affects supply chain. Yeah. See how tiny little things start to come together? So does that mean that the crypto market takes a hit because people don't have free flowing money to invest in crypto? It's not going to bother the people up here. But it sure as heck is bothering the people down here. Right now, what are we looking at? We're looking at credit cards being used to fuel expenses right now. Overdraft fees because of debit cards. People pushing out, their credit month to month, paying minimums or paying just a little bit above minimum. Yeah. And you start to realize, holy moly, everything starts to come together. So next year, I'm thinking it's going to be like this. But at some point next year, I'm expecting it to go like that. What am I holding on to right now? The fact that there's still a chance that we could see a nice little pop, and that's when I'll pull out. Money on the side to do what? To invest in businesses that will immediately give me cash flow. What kind of businesses would I be looking at? Businesses that would give me immediate cash flow. What are two things that people absolutely need that aren't already a part of some kind of monopoly? I need to be able to wash my clothes, right? That's one. What's the other one? Oh, people need to be able to eat. What do people do when they need to eat? They're not going to the store once a week. They're going to the store 2-3 times a week because they can't afford the big grocery store run. So are they going to Costco, or are they going to the deli or the bodega to pick up, instead of a gallon of milk, they're sending the kid to run over to the store and pick up a quart of milk? And you see where that leads. And you start to realize next year could be a good year if you're paying attention, but there's going to be pain felt next year for sure. I don't care what anybody says. You're going to feel pain next year. I see all these talking heads out there and they're going, and we're not going to have a recession. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Some places in the United States, they're already in a recession. So what are you talking about? We're not going to have a recession. We've also just rolled back rules that say, oh yeah, you can discriminate in banks, you can discriminate again. Does that set the stage for anything good? So yeah, we have to pay attention to everything that's going on. Everything. Let me start from the bottom, work my way up. Eric Jackson is a prominent fund manager, and he's usually an activist. He's an activist investor. He's looking to start he's launching Emix, a digital asset treasury firm. Interesting. Because a whole lot of people are saying, oh, well, that whole game plan doesn't work. Pause for applause. With Bitcoin being at 86, isn't now like a great time to start your treasury firm? Because even if you pull back to 70 grand for Bitcoin, just as an example, relax. You pull back to 70 grand, it's going to go back up. So you're not taking that much of a loss, right? And your upside potential is 40 grand up to 126. You'll take that chance. All you need is one person to say, you know what, I'm going to take this amount and I'm going to buy it OTC. I'm going to take this amount and I'm going to buy it open market. Oh, interest. That rises everything. That's all you would need to do. That's all you would need to do to get instant money. Why aren't they doing that? Sounds crazy. But you sit back and you ask yourself, why aren't they doing that? That's what I look at. So right now people are like, do they want it to crash? There are people out there putting Bitcoin crash alerts out there. Why? If I can buy lower. Michael Saylor's average price is a little over 74 grand, 74, 75 grand per Bitcoin. So if I'm one of those people that can manipulate the market going a little bit lower, because there are a whole bunch of us that want it to go lower so we can buy more, right? So we can buy more and then let it go up. Sometimes I think these people are really freaking stupid because there's a finite amount of Bitcoin that's out there, right? Right. And then so if you keep buying more, then nobody else can buy, right? Right. How would it go up? Because all you nitwits purchased OTC. How is it going to go up? Sort of like how you want to keep paying less for your employees, and then they can't afford your own products and services. How does that work in your head? So I sit back and I look at all this news. By the way, anything that I'm talking about tonight, it's all on the site. Those are all articles right there. I think, if I think about it, what is it, like 30 some odd articles today? About a whole bunch of stuff. Bitcoin mining company Hut 8 announced a $7 billion AI data center lease with FluidStack on Wednesday. The 15-year agreement covers 245 megawatts of computing capacity at Hut 8's Louisiana campus. I'd be looking at resource management. I'd be looking at that you need to run a data center. Sounds crazy, but when you think about it, it's kind of like, ooh, that's not cute. You need water for cooling. You need power. That data center is already there, but I'm looking for what supports the data center. Facilities management, you need those people, all that stuff. Something I'm happy about with my kids is the fact that, they're all smart. And they didn't fall into that, well, you don't really have to go to college. Like, yeah, you don't really have to go to college. But you don't have to do blue collar work either. Because what's the big push when they say, oh, you don't have to go to college, go get yourself a blue collar job, plumber, whatever, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I'll say it like that. At one point, I wanted one of my sons to go become a plumber. And it's because I was calling a plumber so much that I was like, man, I need to have one of my kids learn how to be a plumber so they can help dad out. But not everybody needs to be a plumber. Not everybody needs to be an electrician. So something else that I wanted my kids to do was figure out what their interests are in so they can go pursue those things so long as they can make them money. Start thinking about what are my interests? How much money can I make off of each one? What's the lifestyle that I want, and which one of those can get me that lifestyle, can put me on a track for that? You'd be surprised at how quickly that list dwindles. Still, off that list, they might not be doing the favorite thing that they can do. You can do that on the side. But ultimately, you want a job that would afford you the lifestyle that you want and the time that you need to enjoy your life. So yeah, looking at all this news, it's insane. Tether's new app might change how you handle passwords. Tether did launch PairPass, a decentralized password management tool. 8 paws in the house. Costco's Citi Visa card is reevaluating customers' credit score and raising their interest rate charges for some users from 18 to 24%, which is the maximum, by the way. And pay now, pay later charges in January. Holy moly, that's big news. That's big news. And thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself today. It's no joke. It is absolutely no joke. Tiny little things add up to, could all of these things ultimately play out in crypto or digital assets taking a hit because nobody has money except for these people to invest in that? And these people buy OTC, over the counter, meaning point to point. They're not going through an exchange or in a public method that would affect the price. They don't want the price to move. They want to get in at this price. They don't want the price to move. Because every time you buy a Bitcoin, the Bitcoin price might go up. And by the time you buy your 1,000 Bitcoin or whatever number that you're looking for, it's going to jack up that price. So instead of your average price being $86,000, your average price will wind up being $115,000. That can happen. And you start to realize, holy moly, that's not cute. This is why they do OTC. But at some point, you got to stop doing OTC. Now, something else that I've been noticing is that you're starting to see a lot of coins being removed off of exchanges, which could be a good thing because it could mean that people are not selling, right? And maybe they're putting their digital assets to work, staking, and whatever else have you. DMAC, OTC will get dried up. When, my man, when? I agree with you. It will. It's the timing of it all. It's when will Coinbase stop and say, we can't do that anymore? When will Binance say, we can't do that anymore? When do their, reserves that they're using for OTC not work? Here's the other issue with OTC. Somebody's buying, somebody's selling. When? We need those exchanges. We need those brokers to stop making money from brokering OTC deals. You hear how that sounds? And by the way, did you invest in yourself today? With Bitcoin, I think you just need to get in. Yeah, I think you just need to sprinkle, baby. Sprinkle. That's all I do. Sprinkle. I don't even think about anything else. Sprinkle, baby. Sprinkle. Just do your thing. Just do your thing. Sprinkle. Just keep buying. Just keep going. But it also depends on what your time horizon is. Right? What's your time horizon? I think people ask me all the time, well, why do you think 2026 is going to be bad? I'm going to be blunt, and it's going to sound like politics, but it's not. These are based on facts. Out of the last 11 recessions that we've had, the last 10 have been on the watch of the Republican Party. That's a fact. That's not a political statement. That's a fact. So how many more years do we have right now? When you look at the last X number of presidents from Clinton all the way to now, handed over good economy, ended in recession, handed over good economy, ended in recession, handed over good economy, ended in recession. So if you just look at the last stretch of presidents, that's where you're at. So I am looking for history to repeat itself a little bit, because right now, what road are we on? We immediately, with the new regime, hit tariffs that immediately destroyed the soybean industry. And then we did something else to immediately destroy the beef industry. You go to the store, you want to know what I see now more than I have ever seen before. Direct from farm beef sales. If you buy a whole cow from us or half a cow from us, and these are not bogus farms, these are real farmers. These are real deal farmers. During the pandemic, my brother and I almost bought a cow. And then it was that day that we were going to pull the trigger. Costco had a sale. We were in there and we basically bought the cow from Costco. True story. And then you start to realize, oh, wow, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. We need to pay attention. So I'm expecting toughness for the next couple of years, just because we did not start with the right foot. We started in turmoil. Right now, we're as close to war as you can get with Venezuela without being at war. That close. And so we can spend millions for those operations to happen. But again, I asked the question, why do we have homelessness? Somebody came at me and they said, why are you talking about CEOs? They busted their tails to get that money. Did they really? Did they really? And I took it as you're probably somebody that doesn't work in business and you probably don't get it. It's not about them busting their tail to make their money. I'm not upset about that. I am upset about companies that are allowing people to be making 1,000x times what their people make. Because if you're making 26 million, your average employee is making what? 50? Come on. At what point do you stop and say, yeah, that's not so cool? It's not about somebody busting their tail. It's about these companies saying, when is enough enough? What's the max compensation? Because right now it's ridiculous when you look at the competition. And I mean the competition. Everybody's going up and 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 up. You think they play basketball or baseball or sometime. And even then you look at that and you kind of go, some of these players are not nearly as good as some of the old players, especially when you look at basketball. And you sit there and you kind of go, are you serious? That's when I start to realize, wow, got to start paying more attention to the news because a lot of these things are catching up. There's a company called Contigo, a stablecoin focused bank raised $20 million in seed funding to become a large neo bank, meaning they only do internet-based banking, right? And they're saying that there's a risk because they don't practice KYC. They're saying, all right, so like 10% yields on USDC and no KYC account access. And they're saying, well, there's also the rapid growth, and they're looking at that and comparing it to FTX. Rightfully so? I don't know. I have to do a little bit more digging, but I found that article to be interesting. I found it to be very interesting. It's a bank that focuses on the Latin community. Huh. So I am interested. Tomorrow and Friday, what do we have? Bank of Japan. Bank of Japan. Why would you hate KYC laws? Know your customer? Why would you hate those laws? I don't understand that. I do not understand that at all. At all. Are you still working? Oh, you... My solutions architect. If I had my druthers and we were just making big money, he would be my chef. The food that he makes is ridiculous. He just sent me a picture of what he cooked for his daughter for dinner. Well, his daughter and his wife for dinner. Remind me to fly to Florida just so I can punch him in the neck. I should be able to buy and trade what assets I want privately. Yeah, that's not what KYC means. Private is not anonymous. KYC means know your customer. If I'm a bank, I need to know that you're not a drug dealer, trying to wash your money. It's not you're a regular person and I'm going to tell the whole world what you're investing in. That's not what that's for. Right? It's know your customer. I don't have to tell anybody what you're doing, but I need to be able to verify that you are who you say you are. And that it's feasible that you scrub floors for a living and you're depositing $100. Scrubbing floors for a living and you're a one-man show, I shouldn't see you depositing $10,000 at a clip. See what I mean? Know your customer. Big difference. Big difference. I hear you. Two different things. Anti-money laundering and, some of these neo banks that are online they have processes, right? There are third-party services where you have your ID, you have your image, and you sit there and you go like this and all that good stuff, and they can see 3D version of you, and they can go, yeah, you match the ID that's on there, blah, 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 blah. And they try to take the ID, the information that's on the ID, and run it through whatever government records to make sure that it matches who it says that it's supposed to match and all that good stuff. But how do you make a fake ID? The cheap ones are not tied to anything real. They just look real. The expensive ones are actually in the database. So yeah, I like KYC because I don't want to see drug dealers make money. I don't want to see nefarious characters use the banking system to make money, because if they're using the banking system to make money, when something goes wrong in that banking system, who's left holding the bag? We are. Yeah. So let's pay attention. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I answered the question already. It was Tether that has pairless out there, or pair pass. But whatever articles you heard me talk about, and then some, by the way, they're all on growmybag.tv. Go check them out. Go check them out. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, because it helps us grow. And it kind of puts wind in my sails that, that we're growing and that we're doing well. The other part is, if you can become a member, become a member. You get your questions answered quicker that way. I'll tell you that. And it also means that I can, poke fun at you and you get to poke fun at me. And we do it playfully, and we try to learn and grow together. So if you can, do that. That would be a lot more fun. And we're not going to have another big bagger this month, but I might have one the first week of January. Depends on how fat I feel after the holidays. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Everybody have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. for the daily. Have a good one. Bye-bye.